The silence before the storm. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, watching the massive Concorde station rotate slowly against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. The station, aptly named Inevitable Harmony, resembled a metallic lotus flower, its petals housing representatives from over 300 species across the known galaxy. "They're ready for us," said Ambassador Daniels, her voice tight with tension. "Remember the protocol. No sudden movements. No displays of emotion. The Xerixians interpret those as signs of deception." Elena nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the station. After 15 years in Earth's combined defense force, she knew how to keep her face neutral. What the ambassador couldn't see was the quantum communicator nestled against her wrist, disguised as a ceremonial bracelet, Earth's insurance policy. The shuttle journey to the station was silent. Elena studied the escort vessels, sleek, organic-looking ships with rippling hulls that the Concorde insisted were ceremonial guardians. Her military training identified at least 6 weapons arrays on each. Ceremonial, indeed. Inside the Grand Council chamber, thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in ascending rings. Some floated in containment fields, others stood on specialized platforms, and many sat in seats modified for their unique physiologies. The human delegation, 5 people in total, seemed absurdly small in this forum of giants. Grand Chancellor Xerixian towered at the center dais, standing nearly 4 meters tall. His crystalline exoskeleton refracted the chamber's light into dazzling patterns. His voice, when he spoke, resonated through bone rather than air. "The Galactic Concorde welcomes Earth's representatives," he intoned. "We are pleased you have chosen to attend this final negotiation session." Elena noted his emphasis on final. This wasn't a negotiation. It was an ultimatum delivery. "The terms we have prepared are generous," continued Xerixian, waving a limb. A holographic document appeared before the human delegation. "Earth will decommission its military spacecraft. All weapons systems exceeding Concorde Class 3 designation will be surrendered. Your outer colonies will accept Concorde governors to ensure compliance with galactic standards. In exchange, your homeworld will receive full protection and resource-sharing privileges." Ambassador Daniels stepped forward. "Grand Chancellor, with respect, these terms would leave Earth defenseless." "Against whom?" Xerixian's voice carried artificial warmth. "The Concorde has maintained peace for 12,000 years. No member species has faced external threats in that time. Your isolation has bred unnecessary paranoia." Behind the delegation, the chamber's massive doors opened. Elena tensed as armored guards entered. Taurians, a species known for their strength and unquestioning loyalty to the Concorde. "A simple precaution," Xerixian explained. "The Council has received intelligence that Earth forces have been restless. We merely wish to ensure these proceedings remain peaceful." Ambassador Daniels exchanged glances with Elena. This wasn't in the briefing. "We require time to consult with our government," Daniels said. "Of course," Xerixian responded. "You have 12 Earth hours." Back aboard the Olive Branch, Elena activated her secure communications array. President Jackson's hologram appeared instantly, suggesting she had been waiting for the call. "It's as we suspected, Madam President," Elena reported. "They're demanding complete disarmament, and they've positioned military assets around their station." The president nodded grimly. "Their intelligence is outdated. They still think we're the same species that achieved first interstellar flight 50 years ago." "What about the Prometheus Protocol?" Elena asked. "Ready," the president confirmed. "Admiral Chen has the Phantom Fleet in position. The quantum relays are operational and undetected. One more thing, Captain. Our deep cover agents report the Concorde is already mobilizing a peacekeeping fleet near the Arcturus Junction. They never intended to negotiate." Elena felt cold anger settle in her stomach. "They planned to force our compliance all along." "This changes nothing," the president said firmly. "Proceed as planned. Humanity will not bow." 12 hours later, the human delegation returned to the Grand Council chamber. The mood had shifted, more guards were present, and several council members were conspicuously absent. "Have you accepted our generous terms?" Sarixian asked without preamble. Ambassador Daniel stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Grand Chancellor Sarixian, representatives of the Galactic Concord, the United Earth Government has carefully considered your proposal." She paused, letting the tension build. "We respectfully decline." A ripple of shock ran through the chamber. In 12 millennia, no species had ever rejected Concord terms. Perhaps I was unclear. Sarixian's voice held a dangerous edge. "These are not optional arrangements. The alternative is." "We understand the alternative," Daniels interrupted. "We are withdrawing from these negotiations and recalling all Earth citizens from Concord space, effective immediately." The crystalline plates of Sarixian's face shifted in what Elena recognized as anger. "This is most unwise. The Concord cannot allow a militarized, non-compliant species to threaten galactic stability." Elena stepped forward. "With respect, Chancellor, if there is to be a threat to stability, it will not come from us." As she spoke, she pressed a sequence on her concealed communicator. Across 20 solar systems, quantum signals activated Earth's defensive grid. "We came seeking peaceful coexistence," Daniel said. "Instead, we found an empire demanding submission. Consider carefully what happens next." As they turned to leave, Sarixian's voice boomed. "You will not leave this station. Guards, detain them." The Taurian guards moved to block the exits, but Elena was prepared. She activated her second signal. Throughout the station, power fluctuated as microscopic quantum devices, smuggled aboard over months by Earth operatives, disrupted the station's systems. "What is happening?" Sarixian demanded as emergency lights flickered. "A demonstration," Elena replied calmly. "Had we wished to destroy the station, we could have. Remember that." Taking advantage of the confusion, the human delegation retreated to their shuttle. As they departed, Elena watched the Concord vessels scramble to intercept them, but they were too disorganized to prevent their escape. Aboard the Olive Branch, Elena received an urgent transmission. "Captain, Concord warships have just emerged from the Arcturus Junction. They're heading directly for Earth. Estimated arrival, 18 hours. "Right on schedule," Elena replied. "Alert all commands. Operation Firebreak is now active." Within hours, news spread throughout Earth's territories. The negotiations had failed. War was coming. But unlike the grim resignation that might have accompanied such news in earlier centuries, there was an eerie calm. Humanity had not been idle during its decades among the stars. The Concord Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, 5,000 warships strong. Leading them was the dreadnought Pax Concordia, a vessel the size of a small moon. Fleet Commander Vex surveyed the seemingly empty space before them. "Curious. Our intelligence indicated extensive orbital defenses. Perhaps they dismantled them when they learned of our approach," his subordinate suggested. "No," Vex replied. "Something is wrong. Deploy scouts." The scout vessels spread out, probing the darkness beyond Earth's orbit. Minutes passed. "Commander," a sensor officer called out, "energy readings are impossible." Before Vex could demand clarification, space itself seemed to fold. Where there had been emptiness, hundreds of human vessels now appeared, their hulls reflecting no light, perfect black against the stars. On Earth's moon, massive structures that had been disguised as mining facilities transformed, revealing weapon systems that defied Concord understanding. "Impossible," Vex whispered. "Their technology is primitive. They've only been spacefaring for—" "Commander," the communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth." The holographic display activated, showing a stern-faced human in a military uniform. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of Earth's Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space with a military force. This constitutes an act of war. Turn back now." Vex straightened. This is Fleet Commander Vex of the Galactic Concord. By order of the Grand Council, Earth is to be brought into compliance with galactic law. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive Concord representatives. That will not happen, Commander, Admiral Chen replied. We gave you a chance to recognize us as equals. You chose dominance. That was a mistake. The transmission ended. Vex had barely registered this when the first attacks came. The human ships moved in ways that violated known physics, seemingly crossing vast distances without acceleration. When the Concord fleet fired, their energy weapons dispersed harmlessly against invisible barriers. They have singularity shields, a science officer shouted in disbelief. That technology is theoretical. The human counterattack was devastatingly precise. Their weapons didn't target the Concord ship's hulls, but rather specific systems: propulsion, weapons, communications. Instead of destruction, they sought neutralization. On the bridge of the Pax Concordia, Vex watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically disabled. Fall back, he ordered. All ships, emergency retreat. Less than half of the Concord Armada managed to escape. The rest drifted, powerless but intact, their crews alive but utterly defeated. As the battle ended, Captain Alina Reyes received a transmission aboard the Olive Branch, now rejoined with Earth's defense fleet. Captain, President Jackson said, her image flickering slightly, the first phase is complete. The Concord now understands we are not defenseless. It's time for Phase 2. Are you ready? Elena nodded firmly. Yes, Madam President. The stars are about to burn much brighter. The fires of revelation. Grand Chancellor Xirixian stood before the emergency session of the Concord Council, his crystalline form dimmed with what passed for exhaustion among his kind. The chamber, once a symbol of unquestioned authority, now felt like a tomb. How? Demanded Councillor Vrigath of the Saurian Collective. How could a species barely a century into spaceflight defeat our most advanced fleet? The data projections floating in the chamber center told the devastating truth. Half the Concord's elite armada, vessels that had enforced galactic peace for millennia, now drifted powerless in Earth's solar system. Not destroyed, but thoroughly humiliated. They were hiding their true capabilities. Xirixian admitted, our intelligence was flawed. Flawed. Councillor Tazarine, a gaseous entity contained in an ornate vessel, pulsed with indignation. We lost 2,000 ships. The humans didn't just defeat them, they disabled them with surgical precision. They could have annihilated our forces but chose not to. Fleet Commander Vex, summoned to explain the disaster, stepped forward. His once proud bearing was gone, replaced by a haunted look. The humans possess technology we believe theoretical, he reported. Their vessels can manipulate local space-time, allowing instantaneous repositioning without acceleration. Their defensive systems create micro-singularities that absorb our weapons' energy and their offensive capabilities. He paused, struggling to find words. They targeted specific systems with perfect accuracy across thousands of kilometers. It was as if they could see through our hulls. Silence fell over the council. For 12,000 years, the Concord had maintained technological superiority through careful regulation and control. No species was allowed to develop beyond certain boundaries without oversight. Yet somehow, humanity had leapfrogged centuries of advancement in mere decades. We must mobilize the rest of our forces, declared military overseer Krax, his chitinous appendages clicking with agitation. We cannot allow this precedent to stand. I advise caution, countered Intelligence Director Lyrax, her serpentine form coiling anxiously. There is something else. We've detected unusual activity across multiple sectors. Several subjugated species appear to be coordinating. Before she could elaborate, the chamber's communications array activated without authorization. The holographic display shifted to show a human face. Captain Alina Reyes. Esteemed Council, she began without preamble. I speak to you from your primary communications hub in the Proxima system. Gasps and exclamations filled the chamber. Proxima was 20 light-years from Earth, deep in Concord territory. As you can see, Alina continued, your defenses there have been neutralized. Similar operations are underway across 12 of your key strategic positions. Impossible, shouted Overseer Cracks. Our internal defenses were designed to repel external threats, Alina finished for him. We've been embedding quantum transponders throughout your territories for years. Every diplomatic mission, every trade delegation, every cultural exchange, all opportunities to position our technology. The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just been preparing for defense. They had mapped the entire Concord infrastructure while pretending to be technological novices. What do you want? Sorixian asked, his voice no longer resonating with authority, but with dawning comprehension of the true balance of power. The same thing we always wanted, Alina replied. Recognition of our sovereignty and equal standing. But now, we also demand the liberation of all species subjected to forced integration into your Concord. You speak of chaos. Sorixian protested. Many of these species would destroy each other without our governance. Perhaps that was true once, Alina conceded, but your peace has become stagnation. Your protection is control. We've been communicating with these species. Many seek self-determination. As if on cue, reports began flooding in from across Concord space. On dozens of worlds, oppressed species had risen up, targeting not civilian populations, but Concord military installations and governmental centers. The coordination was flawless, suggesting long planning and external assistance. You've been arming them, accused military overseer Cracks. No, Alina replied. We've been teaching them, sharing knowledge the Concord denied them, showing them that resistance is possible. The weapons they use are of their own making. The chamber erupted into chaos as counselors shouted accusations and demands. Sorixian raised his limbs for silence, but his authority had evaporated. There is more, Alina continued when the noise subsided. We are activating the Prometheus protocol. On cue, small devices hidden throughout Concord space activated. They didn't explode or release toxins. Instead, they began broadcasting data, unrestricted scientific knowledge, technological blueprints, historical archives showing the true history of Concord expansion. Information that had been carefully controlled for millennia now flowed freely across all communication channels. The Concord's greatest weapon had always been selective access to knowledge. That monopoly was now shattered. What have you done? Whispered Sorixian, horrified. Created a level playing field, Alina answered simply. Your power was built on keeping others ignorant. That ends today. Back in Earth's solar system, Admiral Helena Chen watched the aftermath of the battle. The disabled Concord vessels floated harmlessly, their crews contained but unharmed. Earth's next move would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The Phantom Fleet reports all objectives accomplished. Admiral, her executive officer reported. Concord military capabilities across 17 sectors have been neutralized. Their communication networks are under our control. And the Prometheus broadcast? Chen asked. Reaching 93% of inhabited worlds. The Concord's information firewalls are collapsing. Their centuries of scientific suppression are being exposed. Chen nodded with satisfaction. Prepare the diplomatic vessel. It's time for the second round of negotiations. Aboard the Olive Branch, now representing Earth's true power rather than its supposed weakness, Captain Alina Reyes prepared to return to the Concord station. This time, there would be no pretense, no hidden strengths. Earth would negotiate from a position of acknowledged power. Captain, her communications officer called. We're receiving thousands of transmissions from across the galaxy. Non-Concord species. They're thanking us. Alina wasn't surprised. The Concord's protection had been a velvet glove over an iron fist, keeping countless species technologically dependent and politically subservient. Earth had just removed both glove and fist. As the olive branch approached the inevitable Harmony station, Alina noted the absence of ceremonial guard vessels. Instead, a single Concorde diplomatic ship waited. Inside the Grand Council chamber, the mood was drastically different. Many seats stood empty. Counselors who had fled or been ousted by their own species in the chaos following the Prometheus revelations. Grand Chancellor Xirixian remained, though his crystalline form had lost much of its luster. "The Concorde is prepared to discuss new terms," he stated without ceremony. "As is Earth," Alina replied, "but not just with you. We require representatives from all affected species." "That would be unprecedented," Xirixian protested weakly. "So is this entire situation," Alina pointed out. "The old ways are ending, Chancellor. Either adapt or step aside." Over the next several days, representatives from dozens of species arrived at the station. Many had never been permitted in the council chamber before, relegated to observer status at best. The discussions were heated, chaotic, and more honest than any diplomatic exchange in living memory. Earth's demands were simple yet revolutionary. Full sovereignty for all species, technological sharing with appropriate safeguards, and a new galactic charter based on mutual defense rather than centralized control. The Concorde would transition from an empire to a true confederation of equals. "You're dismantling 12,000 years of stability," Xirixian argued in a private meeting with Alina. "We're replacing artificial stability with sustainable cooperation," she countered. "Your system was doomed to collapse eventually. All empires are. Some species will use this freedom unwisely," he warned. "There will be conflicts." "Perhaps," Alina acknowledged. "Freedom always carries risks. But forced peace isn't peace at all. It's submission. Humanity learned that lesson centuries ago on our own world." When the new Galactic Charter was finally drafted, it bore little resemblance to the Concorde structure. Power was distributed rather than centralized. Technology would be shared based on ethical considerations rather than political control. Military forces would be maintained independently but coordinated for mutual defense. President Jackson arrived personally for the signing ceremony. As she took her place among representatives from hundreds of worlds, she paused to address the assembly. "Today marks not an ending but a beginning," she declared. "Earth did not come to the stars seeking conflict. We came seeking equals. When offered subjugation instead, we revealed our strength. But strength without wisdom leads only to another form of tyranny." She gestured to the diverse gathering. "Look around you. Each species here has unique perspectives, unique gifts. Together, we can achieve more than any single civilization could alone, not through forced harmony, but through genuine cooperation." As the charter was signed, Alina stood at the back of the chamber, watching history unfold. Her communicator chimed softly. "A message from Admiral Chen. Operation Starlight is complete," it read. "All Concorde military vessels have been neutralized and their crews returned to their homeworlds. The knowledge restrictions have been lifted across all sectors. It's done." Alina closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of the past months lift from her shoulders. The war that could have destroyed billions had been won with minimal casualties. Earth had revealed only a fraction of its true capabilities, enough to force change without inspiring fear. In the years that followed, the galaxy experienced both turmoil and unprecedented growth. Some species struggled with their newfound independence. Others flourished, developing technologies that even Earth scientists found remarkable. The former Concorde territories transformed into a complex web of alliances, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges. Earth itself changed. No longer needing to hide its advancements, humanity's innovation accelerated. Their reputation shifted from upstart newcomers to respected mediators, often called upon to resolve disputes between older species. 5 years after the signing of the charter, Alina Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest vessel, the Unity. Unlike the military ships of the Phantom Fleet, the Unity was built explicitly for deep space exploration, designed to venture beyond the boundaries of known space. "Ready to make history again, Admiral?" asked her executive officer. Elena smiled, watching as distant stars beckoned. "Humanity has always been ready. That's what the Concorde never understood about us. We don't just adapt to the universe. We help shape it." As the Unity prepared for its maiden voyage, communication channels across the galaxy carried the news. The species that had once been deemed too dangerous to trust was now leading a multi-species expedition into the unknown. The message was clear. The stars were no longer under one empire's control. They belonged to all who dared to reach for them. And humanity, the species that had walked away from an empire's table, only to set that empire ablaze with revolution, was just getting started.